All right, welcome aboard. It's Figgie and the Moose on this Thursday right here on Pix 11 Plus. Good morning, Figgie. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well, my man. It's a beautiful day out. For the first time I think I've said that in a while when I don't see the sun and it's a little windy out.
Yeah, right. Significantly cooler, which we will take after hitting triple digits a couple of the last 3 days. So that's a positive, I think, just for overall enjoying the day and life and be able to go outside and smell the grass and hear the birds and see the wildlife, all those good things, whatever it might be. Walking to the store, walking your animals. The one positive was I've never seen my dog go to the bathroom quicker than he did the last 3 days because he couldn't wait to get back in the house. I mean, that was basically it. So it wasn't like we had to go for 20-minute walks for him to go out there and do number one and number two. He was basically done in about 2 minutes. And then he's like, let's go back inside.
Yeah, it gives you an appreciation for air conditioning. Right? You didn't really appreciate air conditioning until this.
Yeah, I can't imagine it being 100 degrees and coated in fur. Like, I'm not that hairy of a guy. So I can't imagine stepping outside. I felt bad for you, Chip. I don't know what to do. We just got your haircut too. We're not growing you long. Anyway, that's a side story. But yes, it's significantly cooler. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday. And obviously the big news after what has been really a couple weeks in which both baseball clubs have not been particularly good. The Mets bounced back in a much needed way last night at home against the Atlanta Braves. And they get a win. They needed the victory. They knocked around Fuentes. They put that 5 spot up early in the game in that third inning. Took a 6-1 lead. You got a little leather flash by McNeil playing center field with the great catch of Ozuna. The only negative in the game to me, and Soto goes out there and hits a couple of home runs. And then the Mets fan, and I love him, very passionate, get very defensive at times, but I love him. But then all of a sudden, it's the big celebratory tweet after beating the Braves for the first time this entire year. I get it, enjoy it. It's the regular season. Only negative is Diaz should never have entered the game. The idea that you have a 7-1 lead in the top half of the ninth inning, and you're bringing in a reliever in Patara, who obviously, gets himself into trouble. Figgy, that's the thing. And you could say, well, maybe, it's just a little bit of work. No. That's a game when you have a 7-1 lead at home in the top half of the ninth inning. Your closer, I don't care who the closer is, but in this case, it's Edwin Diaz. He cannot enter that game. He should not be warming up. It shows you that's the concerning aspect coming out of it. Is just the bullpen, the lack of belief in that bullpen, or where you can get sizable or you can get outs in that bullpen. That's a game he should never have entered last night. That's the only
no doubt. But here's the thing. What if the Braves made that comeback? And what if they tied that and they wind up losing that game? And not because you wanted to save Diaz, right? Because, again, the ineffectiveness of the guys in the bullpen. You went with Stanek already earlier. You went with some of the guys that you trust in that situation. And, yeah, sure, you got to get 2 more outs. One more out.
I'm not saying that they made the wrong decision going to Diaz. That's not the point. You had to go to him. Like,
right.
You could. No. My point being is he should never have been put in that situation. Like, you should have been able to get through the last 3 outs, the Braves trailing by 6, without Diaz having to enter the game. I'm not telling you that Mendoza, maybe I didn't say it properly. Mendoza made the right call. You got to get the win, right?
Oh, no doubt.
But that shows you the leakiness of this Mets bullpen, that Diaz had to enter the game when they were leading that game 7-1.
Yeah, and I mean they waited till it became a safe situation with the guy on deck having a chance to tie the game. So I think they gave as much leash as they could comfortably. And could you have had someone else warming up just in case? Or I get all those different things. But actually, the kid, from what we heard, from parts unknown, developed under the Met system, came out there throwing 97, 98 miles an hour, nasty little cutter that he was throwing up and into Albies, and, showed some flashes of why he's had such success and only made it to the AA level, but they bumped him right up to the big leagues. And gave him an opportunity in a game which is lopsided 7-1 to figure, they just go out there and relax and make your pitches. Look like struck out Acuna. Almost struck out Acuna, had him on 2 strikes. And after that, you could see he just fell apart. It was all over the place. And so, yeah, a little bit of, I wouldn't say a little bit of panic, but out of necessity, after everything that's gone on, that game had to be a win. And so that's all that mattered.
Right. That's all that matters. Imagine we were coming on the airways, the Braves rallied and won that game in extra innings. I mean,
Oh,
would have been. I mean, Met fans would have been run around the city like their heads were on fire. I mean, that's it. Like it's crazy. So yes, they Mendoza made the right call. Soto hits a couple home runs. You get the big stat: 27 multi-home run games. Youngest player under 27 to be able to do that. We know Soto's great. He's celebrating with his Met fans. We're away from the annoying conversation that dominated it early. And that's where you get carried away, where we're kind of judging on a day in, day out basis whether or not Juan Soto was happy or not. I mean, that drove the moronic conversation about the New York Mets when they were winning games. You knew Soto was going to find himself, and he certainly has. I think overall, the lineup got healthy last night and built a little confidence. Now, it's against a starter that's not particularly good, right? Let's them not make it out to be that they did it against Chris Sale. They didn't. But that's a game in which you said to yourself, we have a distinct pitching advantage. Momentum in Major League Baseball is the next day's starter. You had one of your top, a top three starter in your rotation and Holmes going last night against a guy in Fuentes who was making his second start and had an ERA over 7. That's a game in which you got to find a way. And the Mets went out there, scored 7, had 13 hits. Mauricio homered. He had 3 hits. Soto had 2 home runs on the night. It was a good performance by everybody in the lineup. That's the kind of win that you needed if you're the Mets to kind of fumigate the building after dropping 10 of 11.
Yeah, we said yesterday during our show, Sports Nation Nightly at 7 p.m. on Pix 11. We said yesterday, listen, the first 11 games of the month, the Mets were 9-2. The following 11 games of the month, they were 1-10. Yeah, which team was this team really like? And I felt much more like the 9-2 team, even though during those 9 they played the Colorado Rockies in 2 series. But they also played against the Los Angeles Dodgers. So you can't dictate who the schedule puts in front of you. Same thing with the Braves. When the Braves rolled into town, they had a chance to absolutely put them well behind if they were able to go out there and dominate and win all 7 games against the Braves, right? That would have put the Braves in almost 20 back. Just to think about that, 20 back, they could have put the Braves. And then you would really not have to worry about the Atlanta Braves. But as baseball would have it, baseball doesn't want that. Baseball likes playoff races. Baseball likes September hunt, the hunt for October, all those different things. The shirt is already marketed. You see it every year. And so the Braves went out and did what they had to do against the Mets from game 1 of that series when Peterson was winning 4-1 and going into the 8th inning. And you're thinking, okay, Mets are going to prove their dominance yet again. And they weren't able to seal the deal. And so to have last night's game, to have Soto continue to have a tremendous month. And I think that's the biggest thing that I take away from that game is he's continuing to swing the bat better and better. Like you hear the sound coming off his bat while you're watching these games, and you don't even have to be looking at the game. You hear that sound, you know it's a problem for the other team. That ball in the deep twice, the 2 home runs that he hit yesterday. Again, continue to have. I want to see that swagger back. I want to see that confidence back at a level that you feel like every at bat is the most competitive at bat that he's ever had. And that's the way he's always kind of had his career. And I want to see him be able to rise to the big occasions and the big moments, with the 3-run doubles with bases loaded and things of that nature. Once we start seeing that, I think those numbers will come back to the mean up for Juan Soto. I mean, he's got 19 home runs and 45 RBIs. He's tied Pete Alonso for the home run lead for the team. Very quickly, 10 home runs in the month of June. Month of June has been more Soto-like, 325 batting average as compared to a 230 batting average before the month of June. I think, as the summer has heated up, so has Soto, and that's a great thing for the Mets because there are a lot of things that are missing. There are a lot of things that aren't playing out to the norm or what you're expecting. But Marc Vientos coming back. You got Soto, hitting the ball like he is right now. If Pete Alonso can find himself and his strikeout rate has increased a little bit back to what we saw a little bit of last year. If he can get back to shrinking that strike zone, and we know Lindor is playing with a broken toe but still doing his thing. I think the Mets are going to be all right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I still think there are some issues with this team when you look at concerns about the starting rotation. I also think the bullpen needs a little bit of time to kind of regather themselves a little bit as well, because I think they've been overworked because of the lack of innings that you've gotten from those starters. But I think overall, when you look at this lineup, I love Tyrone Taylor's defense. I think McNeil's got to play a lot more in center field moving forward. You're getting Vientos. The expectation is hopefully he's going to be back in the lineup tonight. Grant Holmes is on the mound for the Atlanta Braves. Griffin Canning getting the start for the New York Mets. So I think it's got to be a case where, with the return of Vientos, he's going to be manning third base. Mauricio, after the 3 hits last night, playing a little bit of second. McNeil out there in center, because I think this team's got to lean a little bit more offense, Figgy, because I don't think they're going to win games 2-1 when you go. And now, listen, you can put Taylor late in the game as they did last night because of what he does defensively. But I think this team's got to lean a little bit more offense. Catcher, whatever you get at this stage with Alvarez down in AAA is going to be an absolute bonus. But the other 8 spots in that lineup, I think that's where you got to lean. You got to lean more offense than anything else if you're Carlos Mendoza.
Yeah, and I think by design, the way this team had that lineup that they had on paper from the beginning of the season, right? The length that you had in that lineup, of course, putting it with some expectations to it. There were question marks. There's a lot of youth, and when you talk about a guy like Marc Vientos, we've only seen him do it for a short amount of time. When it comes to a guy like Alvarez, we've seen flashes. Well, those two guys if those two guys are batting in your 7, 8, and then the 9-hole spot was meant for a guy like a defensive center fielder, Siri or a Taylor being it, then, those are the kinds of things where if you're sitting there going, your 7 and 8-hole hitter can hit you 20 home runs. And then you have a guy who's a speedster that can get on base and cause a little havoc. And then you have the top of that lineup coming up again, where it would make things very difficult for opposing pitchers. Yeah, no doubt that it has at times looked like that, but not often has it clicked on all cylinders where you've seen that be the forefront of the Mets' success. And, they leaned a lot on the starting pitching. They started to push these guys, and that was always a thing, right? You babied them early in the season. You only wanted them to go, 80, 85 pitches. They get to 4 2/3 as starters, and then you get to the point where you start pushing them into the 7th because you want to start stretching them out a little bit. And then the next start. It's never the start that they're in where they're cruising. It's never that start. It's the next start that you have to worry about, because that's where it's a little bit fatigue, a little bit less extension on their release point, a little bit of how far can we push them this game, because we don't want to push them 2 games in a row. That's too much too soon. And there's always that comfort level of each pitcher. And there's a lot of things with the Mets using guys who Clay Holmes is in uncharted territory for himself at the major league level. The innings count, right? And pitch count. He's never been this far, so we don't know what to expect. We don't know what's his comfortable mean from here on out. Like, now, are they going to dial back and make him just solely a 5-inning pitcher? Probably, if they can. I mean, he's pitched very effectively for 5 innings, 2 times through the lineup and such, which is a major league starter these days. So I think that what I have trust in is I have trusted for the first time in a long time that everyone is on the same page, right? That from David Stearns, the president, to Carlos Mendoza, to the Hafner, the pitching coach, to the assistant pitching coach, to the strategist, to the everybody's on the same page, right? And so they kind of have an idea of what they're going to do well in advance, like a week out in advance. They know, but barring injuries, barring performances, they've gone through 24 pitchers already this year. 24 pitchers. All right. So that's a lot. Now, normally a staff will start out with 12, 13 pitchers. You've doubled that almost already. And that's including the guys that have been there every single day. So like you said, the bullpen, it's been in flux. You've seen a lot of names, and they would love to have a solid 4 guys that they can count on, and a solid 4 guys that avoid the IL for a couple of weeks and of those natures. But I think the depth that they have, and they're getting some of that. The kid last night, listen, I don't mind having a kid who throws 98 with a 92-mile-an-hour cutter that teams haven't seen before. And
but he's got to throw strikes. And
no doubt. But I mean, when you
get him to his job,
other than that he hung the slider to Acuna, the fastballs, you can see how he wanted to. He was so excited he couldn't command that fastball. He's throwing them up and in on the righties.
No, I get it. I get it. Listen, I understand.
The stuff is there.
Yeah, right. Well, but fair. Diaz should never have entered that game, but he did. he did, and they had to because they needed to win that game, and they did.
Now Diaz entered the game, and they hit a grand slam to tie it or something.
I know you're excited. We spent 15 minutes talking about the Mets. We've got to get in a little Yankees, little NBA draft. We're running.
Oh, the Yankees played?
Yeah, the Yankees played as well. We'll get into that next. I understand. It's like asking a presidential candidate a question, and he's like filibustering for like 8 minutes. I get it. You want to go through the history? You want to go through 69, talk about
shout out to Cory Booker.
86, the great run in 2000.
That's it.
We'll come back. I know. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm like, you're going through the entire thing. Okay, well, let's get down to, let's talk about the St. Lucie Mets or the Brooklyn Mets as well. It's crazy. It's insane. I get it. I understand. They won. Congratulations. You finally beat the Braves. We'll come back. We'll talk a little Reds and Yankees.
W's and L's, no matter who it is.
No, I love you. You know that. We'll come back. We'll talk a little Yankees baseball, NBA draft. We'll do that next. It's Figgie and the Moose on this Thursday right here on Pix 11 Plus. Welcome back. It's Figgie and the Moose on this Thursday on Pix 11 Plus. The Yankees, meanwhile, last night, I mean, they win a game and knock off the Cincinnati Reds 7-1, but I mean, the issues still are there. Figgy, when you look at it, Fried has been great. He's 10-2 on the season. He goes out there and does his job over 7 innings of work. And anytime Fried starts, you think it's a win day for the New York Yankees. There's still 12 games over the 500 mark. But, Figgy, they were 4 for 22 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
That's atrocious. I mean, when you look at it, like that is terrible. They won the game 7-1. Imagine if they lost the game. They had so many guys on base. I mean, the Yankees they had 5 walks as a team. They had 13 hits in the game. Judge with a double, Dominguez with a double. Dominguez went out there and, went 4 for 5 on the night. He's now hitting 253 on the season. You like to see this Yankee team avoid getting swept by the Cincinnati Reds. That's all positive. I'm not telling you that's not. But the issues that are still there, the situational hitting for the Yankees, still kind of in a win if you dig down and read between the lines. Not to be negative. I know people are going to be, well, you're a little negative on this Thursday, Moose, but not to be negative. 4 for 22 with runners in scoring position as a major league lineup is atrocious.
It is, and no doubt that that's one of the discussions is yes, on paper 7-1 you have a thumbs up, and when you dive a little bit deeper into the numbers and you see 5 guys who struck out at least half of their at bats in that lineup. We constantly harp on, the strikeout, especially in the big moment, the unproductive out, not getting guys in from, third base with less than 2 outs. So those things all add up and they come back to haunt you. So especially in a 7-1 victory where you have the lead early on and you're kind of just, you're in cruise control, where you're at. And those are the times and the moments where small ball has to dictate because it's a situational hitting type deal, right? It's not oh my God, what if I hit this ball in the gap or hit a home run and drive in all 3? No, just get 1 in. Don't try to be a hero. Just continue to pad on and add on to the lead and have a productive at bat. I think that's what really has irked me in the new baseball. The new baseball is all about the what if I run into one, right? It's about the A swing, the home run swing, no matter what, 2 strikes, whatever the situation is. It wasn't like, when I was growing up, and here I am, I'm, shaking my fist at the clouds. It's not the same where, listen, as a man on second base, got to get him over, hit the ball to the right side, right? Do your job, keep the line moving. If you're a smaller guy, the days of bunting are dead. We know all that stuff. I get it, but there's still something to be said about having in-game reps where you're comfortable sitting on a slider away, putting it in play with 2 strikes, and being able to get a guy in and move a guy over at the same time. I mean, that's something that can't be overlooked enough and discussed, I'm guessing, with the Yankees hitters, because yes, on paper it seemed like a great game, great win for them, 7-1 and able to bounce back against the Reds. But Max Fried, a godsend for the Yankees. He's worth
Oh,
every penny. Been worth every penny. I mean, he is that stabilizing force that if you could imagine having Cole and him back to back in that rotation, right? That's 2 days right there, back to back. Hey, bullpen saved. These guys are going at least 7, and you're almost guaranteed wins unless they're having an off day for the month. That's just the bottom line. And he's pitched like every bit of an ace that we knew he was, leaving the Atlanta Braves and going to the New York Yankees, not succumbing to the pressures of being a Yankee or being in pinstripes.
Yankees come back home off day today. They'll begin a series against the Oakland Athletics on Friday night, or I shouldn't say Oakland, the Sacramento A's or the A's, the baseball club, whatever they're calling themselves. The Sacramento A's on Friday night at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. The NBA draft was last night out there in Brooklyn. I was wrong. We were wrong. We both thought that the Nets, there was no way they're going to take all 5 first rounders and draft all 5 guys. They did. Amazingly enough, they kept on drafting guards outside of Danny Wolf, the former Michigan Wolverine, with the 27th overall selection, but they kept on drafting guards. I'm not going to tell you that, it seemed on a couple of the guys that there were reaches. I think any NBA draft room, just like in, the NFL draft, everyone's going to tell you we had an unbelievable draft. We'll see exactly, what they do. But more of an international flair when you look at it. Yegor Demon coming out of BYU, Nolan Traore out of France, and then they also drafted Ben Saraf. Drake Powell out of North Carolina, big 6'6" wing, who's athletic, freaky athletic, but has got to work on his outside jumper, but good defensive player. And then Danny Wolf, more of a point center, as we saw for the Michigan Wolverines this past year, began his career in the Ivy League. I don't know why you keep on drafting guards, but they did. But Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets make a little history last night in the first round of the NBA draft. They had 5 first-round picks, and they used all 5.
Yeah, they used all 5, and now you talk about having a young core who have some commonalities, a bond already. The Fab Five. It's never been done before of drafting 5 first-round draft picks. And are you going to miss on some? Possibly. Or all of them? If all of them are solid NBA players, then you've hit. Right. That's 5 players that you'll have for a certain amount of time. Very cost effective. And, when it comes to talent, they're all first round picks that, you feel that can play at the NBA level, and they're going to jump right into action in with the Nets. It's not going to be a wait and see. I mean, that many picks, that talented enough of a group. Now, if 2 of them become, the faces of the franchise, because again, who is the face of the franchise for the New York Nets right now? They're Cam Thomas. I mean, that's what you're left with after all these different trades. I think it's unprecedented. Something has to work. We've seen them try it the other way, right? They went out and got 3 superstars not too long ago, and that was a disaster. Now they went the cheaper way, I would say, of things after all the trades and all the stockpiling of draft picks that they had. So it was interesting that they couldn't barter anything or put together a package enough to move up to get maybe a little bit higher picks or a different variety. But when your portfolio is very heavy in guards, and I think what they're expecting. Yeah, what they're expecting is that, each one of them brings a different aspect to it. Each one of them is a different type of guard.
Yeah, no, they all have different strengths, but they all have significant weaknesses as well. Cooper Flagg, the star of the night, obviously, generational talent, best prospect, American-born prospect, maybe since LeBron James. People in Maine celebrating from a town of like 3,500. You saw his family there, wearing a beautiful watch as well. I think this is going to be significant for the NBA and the Dallas Mavericks. I think he is going to be that good. But I thought it was interesting, as we're running out of time here, Figgy, but I thought it was interesting they went to the draft room and there was the Mavericks GM, Nico Harrison, sitting right next to Jason Kidd celebrating the selection. So the coach that the Knicks want, who's still under contract for 2 years, is there celebrating the first overall pick. I think he's going to remain in Dallas, gut feeling there. The question is, NBA free agency gets going Monday night at 6 p.m. is the official start of NBA free agency, I believe June 30th. Will the Knicks have a coach by the time free agency starts?
The answer is no.
Probably not, right?
The answer is no, right? And I think more so than anything is that Leon Rose and the front office are going to definitely have to address the bench guys that they're having, the depth. Are they going to, we keep hearing there's possible trade rumors swirling around guys, even like Mikal Bridges. I heard that, they're trying to even Mitchell Robinson, take him while he's at his highest, where he showed what he could do in the playoffs. You even hear there's so many things swirling around, which is good to have interest but we've got to see what they do, because we know that this team lacked the depth, the bench, the pieces that are out there, the pieces that are available. Which direction is this team going to go? We saw them already, shy away from KD and the superstar and bringing him in. And now you're sitting back and wondering what the plan is, because now the coach that comes in, who has all the pressure to just win a championship, has to take the cards that he's dealt, because he wasn't a part of the process.
No.
It's a little strange.
Right. Odd. Right. But it's the Knicks. And I've grown accustomed to it, as we all have, because the Knicks are going to, ultimately, they're going to be the Knicks, even though if we had a 5-year reprieve. But that's going to do it for this edition of Figgie and the Moose. It's second round of the NBA draft tonight. You've got Mets and Braves tonight. Yankees have an off day on this Thursday. We'll be back with you tomorrow. And make sure to check us out later on this evening, 7 p.m., Sports Nation Nightly on Pix 11. Enjoy the cooler weather. I know my dog Chip will, and so will I. Sweat factor is not necessarily like a 30 today, which is a good thing. It's a good thing when you're trying to lose a little bit of weight. Figgy, have yourself a wonderful day. I'll see you at the station, all right? You got it. For Nelson Figueroa, I'm Marc Malusis. This has been Figgie and the Moose right here on Pix 11 Plus.